because with all the stuff that's going on with the NAR lawsuits and everything like that, and just, you know, just the compression as far as margin is concerned with real estate commissions, mortgage commissions, I'm seeing more people that are talking about, you know, being the loan officer and the real estate agent. And obviously, as long as the ABAs are signed and everything like that, it's all good. But there's a part of me that thinks that that's a possibility to where that's where it's going.
Yeah.
You know, with all the technology and everything, people are like, AI is going to take our jobs and this and that. Like, you know, to do both of those transactions, I guess, isn't the craziest thing. And if we're being honest, I mean, let's face it, you know, you got a lot of in-house lenders at a lot of real estate companies. And even though the real estate agents may not necessarily be doing the loan, there's a lot of ways that they can be profiting from the loan. And at the end of the day, isn't that what it's really all about? I mean, it's about getting paid.
Well, to be honest, like a lot of the tedious work on both sides, like the real estate side and the lending side, y'all have processors, we have
Right.
TCs. So it now is really a no-brainer to do both because after all the hard work is done, the negotiations and running comps and going through the inspection, and then if there's a potential amendment and then navigating the client's, you know, concerns and fears and all the fun stuff. But after that's done, then
Right.
that's really it. It's just, did we make appraisal and we're gone. And because the TC is doing a lot of the heavy work on the back end. But then even on the LO side, the processor does a lot of the heavy work too. So once I realized that LOs had essentially a TC equivalent, then I was like, oh, yeah, this makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, let's face it, real estate or lending, the hardest part is getting the client.
Yeah, it's acquisition. Yeah.
Right?
And maintain the relationship.
That's the part that I feel like the client or the customers don't understand. They're like, boy, your job seems easy. And it's like, well, first off, it's not as easy as it looks. And if it looks easy, then I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
Right?
I love when people say that because I'm like, well, if it was easy, then wouldn't you be doing it?
Right. Well, and then number two, it's like, you have no idea how much time and effort went into just like getting you as a client.
Yeah.
Right. Things that like you're totally unaware of, the relationships and just the time and effort that I had to put in to even get to the point to being able to be introduced to you is just crazy when you think about it.
Well, it's interesting because what I'm slowly realizing is like a lot of people know a lot of agents, but you know, I was reconnecting with a guy I used to work with at New York Life, which is how I met Taylor, which is how I met you.
Right.
And he had bought a few years back, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was asking like, how'd you find your realtor? I was curious. He's like, oh, the family friend. I was like, well, did you like interview outside of the family friend, or was that just kind of it? Like, no, that was it. And so I think I guess the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of people know a lot of agents or LOs, but then when they're actually making the choice, it's not a educated, logical, methodical ABC. Here are the 10 reasons why I hired/picked you. It's, I just knew them.
Right.
And so the relationship, right? It's because they were a family friend. It's like, yeah, but how many deals did they do the year prior? And, you know, are they active or do they need to get active to do this deal for you? Like, that's a real thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of work. And even if you're better on paper, right, hire a producer, has a process, knows it backwards and forwards, they could still pick the person that just got licensed because they went to college together.
Well, and that's my fear, and it's going to be bittersweet, but this is my fear and or excitement for the real estate business, because in my business, it's always like, well, what's your rate? What's your closing costs? You know, show me all your paperwork. Like, we do a ton of work up front just to get the client to even commit to doing business with us.
Yeah.
And
you're starting with 10 walls up, and then you're having to get all those knocked down.
Correct. And then my fear and or excitement in the real estate business is with all of this stuff as far as, you know, these buyer's representation agreements and compensation agreements. Like, y'all's commission has really been, you know, kind of showcased, if you will, and it's forcing buyers to start asking more questions, which can be good for some and bad for others. Right?
I love it.
Right. No,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're confident in what you do and you're a good agent, I think you should be excited about it, because the family friend, for example, who doesn't get asked any questions, there's a strong possibility that it can be commonplace now that someone says, well, how many transactions did you do in the last, you know, show me some of your closing disclosures, or, you know, what are you going to charge me, and how are you going to justify your compensation? And for a lot of people, that's scary, but I think there's a lot more good agents that are like, yeah, bring those questions on.
Yeah. Yeah, those questions are great because it'll either tell you what you don't know as an agent, or it'll tell you everything that you're already telling yourself, right? So let's say that you're an agent that, on paper does well, and you're getting a bunch of questions that you know the answer to, then that's like reinforcing like the type of agent you are.
Right.
Where if you're telling yourself you're this great agent and then you're constantly overcoming objection or not able to overcome objections or getting questions where you're like, yeah, that's a really good question. Let me get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a temperature check. It's like a chef would do, right? And so that's why I love the questions because it's like, I hope I get a question that I don't know today. Because A, I'm going to be better tomorrow because now I have the answer to the question that I know. But if I don't, it is that reinforcement. It's kind of like sharpening a blade.
Yeah, yeah. So what got you into real estate, man? I mean, you mentioned before we started this that, you owned a bar for a while.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was New York life, I believe you said.
So
tell me the whole progression, man.
Yeah, the lineage, I'll do like 30,000 foot view, and then based on what you hear, you can tell me where you want me to take it.
Yeah.
But it was rugrat in high school, got kicked out of my house, lived with the best friend, went to Blinn for a year, almost got kicked out of Blinn from an academic perspective in Bryan. Then I went to U of H downtown for a year. Being 18, 19 in downtown Houston wasn't for me. So then I gave it one more shot, and I went to Texas State. I was this close to going to Tech. They actually accepted me before Texas State, but I'm glad I went because Texas State is kind of the little brother to Austin, right?
Yeah.
Austin has a river flowing through,
Right.
whatever you want to call it, and so does San Marcos. But anyway, first in my family graduated, did finance, wanted to kind of defy my dad's orders because he was paying for it. And those orders were pretty much, hey, I'll foot the bill for college, but, you need to be an engineer like your dad. And I think I did like one engineering class. I was like, this is not me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to talk about money. And so that's why I did finance, and I worked at the banks and credit unions as a banker, as a teller. And it was kind of learning very basic personal finance at the bank while getting my finance degree. Boom, graduate, dad's happy, everything's good. Go to New York Life, financial advisor. You get licensed life and health. That allows you to do disability, long-term care, life insurance. And insurance is really where the money's at in that business in the short term.
Right.
Long term, it's AUM and getting portfolios from Schwab, Fidelity, wherever, and then bringing it in-house. But did that with Taylor. I don't know.
Shout out to Taylor Villarreal.
Taylor Villarreal. He's my financial advisor. I just got, we did some paperwork yesterday. But that was great, man. Like I often refer to that sometimes as like the golden years because, we were 22 rocking suit and ties in a city that doesn't wear suit and ties.
Mm-hmm.
And that was incredibly tough because it's like, we were asking people that were double our age to give us $250,000 or more and let us manage it. Because after you get your life and health, then you get your 6 for annuities, 63 mutual funds, 7 individual stocks, and Taylor kept going. I think he's got his 66, 65, and he's a part of Eagle Strat. He's gone to Link. He's been in there for 10 years.
Right.
But yeah, so did that. Then I didn't do it because once I got licensed, I realized, whoa, making $100,000 in insurance is different than making $100,000 with investments. You need to do millions of dollars if you're a new guy and you don't have the AUM that's really paying you out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about collecting. So you're either collecting insurance premiums or you're collecting AUM, which is you got to collect more faster. And when I realized the game, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be another 2 or 3 year kind of struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no way. I already did it for 3 years. College was tough. I sat in the front row of every class my junior and senior year, and I graduated with a 2.7.
Wow.
I just wasn't a student.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, left that, went to Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and that's them and T-Shack. Most lenders probably work with T-Shack.
Yeah, that's who we use.
Yeah, their marketing is better than TDHCA. A lot of people don't know T-Shack was a department of Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs.
Okay.
They split. There was this internal battle that had happened where they ended up splitting off.
Mm-hmm.
So working at TDHCA, there was always this bitter feud for people who were TDHCA like loyalists
Okay.
that then went to T-Shack because they got the newer office and they had newer standards and procedures, and it was
They're
like
out of Houston, right?
who?
T-Shack?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they may have a Houston branch, but
Okay.
no, they should have an Austin branch.
Okay.
I haven't been with them since 22, so I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe things changed.
Okay.
From what I remember, they had an Austin office, but I didn't work for them. I worked for TDHCA, so I don't really know. Other than that, they were internal and split. But it was through that process. My job there was bond finance. So we issued tax-free muni bonds, bond finance division of TDHCA for the state of Texas. So we were the finance team who built the bond. The state of Texas, with our department, sold it on the open market to essentially BNY Mellon, or BNY Mellon, I think was our legal team. But we sold it to like institutional guys, like big players that needed that as a part of their portfolio.
Right.
So it took me a while to figure out that part. And then when I did, I was like, okay, well then what? Well, the premiums and the profit that we made off these bond deals, which we did about one every 6 months, was the funds that went into the bucket that is Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs funds for low and moderate income people.
Right.
So when I figured that out, I was like, well, what's the definition of low and moderate income? Well, then it depends on if you're single, married, and how many are in the household. So I was like, well, I knew how much I made, and I saw what was on the paper for Travis County on what I had to make the threshold to fit in the program. Well, I was like, well, I make like $2 or $3 grand under the max. I said, so technically I fit. So I was like, okay, wait, I can buy a home with the program. So then I was like, okay, Cody Cooper, my now broker. I was like, hey man, what's a USDA loan? He's like, well, that's where you have no down payment. I was like, well, that's what I want. And then we found a USDA zoned property by the airport that had a Travis County, Austin zip code. That was somehow USDA, which is kind of crazy because Travis County, like none of that should be rural, but it was for the time that I bought in 2020. So anyway, did a USDA loan, no down payment, but it's like, oh, it's at the closing costs. But in the fine print of the down payment assistance programs then, I don't know what it is now, you could use the DPA money for closing costs or the down payment.
Correct.
So then I did a 3% DPA loan to pay for almost all of my closing costs. And the little bit that I had left, I just went up to the builder because it was a new construction.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I'm like 1,500 short. Y'all are going to spot this. Because if not, I'm just going to go to this condo that was in like Southeast Austin. I wasn't really going to go there, but I had leverage and they needed to sell. That was it. All that happened when I was 25, from figuring out what a USDA loan was, getting the DPA program, negotiating with the builder. I got my $500 earnest money back. I bought a home in Travis County with $0 out of pocket at the end of the day with a 2.75 rate. That's where I was like, I'm going to get into real estate. And that 2.75 rate was with the TDHCA little premium that they do on their down payment assistance programs. I think at the time, market rate was 2.5.
Right. So just a little, slightly higher.
Slightly higher for their risk, which is the second lien, which I think, I know I still have. It's like,
Yeah, you have it for
whatever
3
it
years.
was. Or mine is for the life of the loan.
Okay.
Yeah, where T-Shack is, I think their
they
programs.
forgive it after 3 years.
But that was our argument with T-Shack was, well, when you looked at the rates, TDHCA was always a
They're
few
always
bips,
less. Yep.
because of that, I think.
No, that's the trade-off. I
Yeah.
mean, nothing's free.
No, everything's risk adjusted and
Yeah.
everybody's got to get paid.
Yep.
So anyway, that was kind of a longer way to answer how I got into real estate. And then there's a whole second part after that, but I'm sure you may have a question. I don't know.
No. I mean, that all makes sense. So you identified, basically how the process worked. You're like, I could help guide people through this, and you went out and got your license at that point, I take it.
Yeah, I got licensed, but then as I got licensed, I realized I didn't want to be at TDHCA anymore. So then I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, well, I guess I'm going to go open a bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like a natural progression.
Yeah, I was insane.
What was the name of the place?
The Cauldron.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cauldron. And so that got inspired because we had gone to Tulum in the heart of COVID. It was Mexico, one of the only places you could go.
Yeah.
And Tulum was on the up and up.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for COVID, I think Tulum would have probably kept some of its integrity and
Yeah, they got an
uniqueness.
airport there now and everything.
Yeah, There was an article I read a couple months ago about Tulum where it's like the heartbeat of Tulum is dying, and I believe that because it was this spiritual place in 2020 that it wasn't about popping bottles and designer everything and playing hip hop. It was not that anything's wrong with hip hop R&B, but that just wasn't the vibe. The vibe was lo-fi house music, very spiritual melodic music that very little vocals, and everybody was just kind of vibing.
Right.
It was about spiritual peace and connecting. That's
burning that copal.
Yeah, and the Palo Santo.
Yeah.
That's not what it is now.
Okay.
And so anyway, but through the travels, that's where we got the aesthetic that was the Cauldron. The Cauldron was creams, off-whites, greens, browns. If it was brown, it was wood. If it was green, it was a place where like people interacted, and all the filler was like off-white. Like it was a very intentional place.
Yeah.
Man, we started off coffee and cocktails. We got duly licensed, or we got our license to do liquor, which allows you to do beer, wine, and liquor.
Sure.
And yeah, man, we
Get some mezcal going.
Yeah,
Some
we
Tobala.
we had a whole Tobala's different. Yeah. The kids weren't ready for that. And that's the other thing I say kids because we didn't realize West Campus was such
Right.
a UT centric. I, growing up in Round Rock, thought I knew enough about Austin that, West Campus, 24th, isn't too far from where people are already partying, 6th, East, and Rainy. What's another 20 blocks? Well, it wasn't until we opened, I was like, oh, fuck, that 20 blocks is everything. What I really realized after opening is people don't go north of the Capitol to go get a drink. I can't remember the last time that somebody invited me. I've invited people north of the Capitol just because there's swanky little spots. But nobody's ever invited me to grab a drink north of the Capitol. It's usually downtown or the east side.
Right.
And when I was younger, it used to be west and when rainy during the rainy days.
Right, right.
But yeah, rode that wave, raised $400,000, opened the spot, negotiated the lease, took a year to open, got fucked over by almost everybody. Everybody being like the sound guy, the electrician, the plumber, my GC. I hired a residential GC guy to do a commercial job. He didn't even know how to pull commercial permits. Slowed the process. I still had to pay him. Had to fire him. Had the GC. All the while trying to make money in real estate. My first year in real estate, while doing all this bullshit, opening the business, I think I did like $30,000.
Wow. It's rough.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Right.
And so anyway, so I'm kind of this hybrid guy for like the next 3 years. That it was the bar and real estate. But it was Christmas of 23 where I went up to Cody, my broker.
Yeah, the broker for Sprout.
Yeah. And I said, man, I am $41,000 in debt, and I am not making money in anything. And I need to figure out a way to make this work now. Because if I don't, I'm going to sell my house, I'm going to sell all my shit, and I'll probably go move to Mexico City, and I'll figure it out.
Right.
And he's like, wow. He's like, okay. So he grabbed a piece of paper, and he's like, well, this is the plan. I said, whatever you write down on that piece of paper, I'm going to do every day for a whole year. And if this doesn't work, it's going to be your fault.
Okay.
But I said it with all serious. I wasn't smiling.
Yeah,
I said
I
it with all serious. I said, you're the broker. You're the one who's made
Sure.
it. So you fucking tell me. Anyway, he wrote it down. I said, this is it. This is the plan. He said, if you do this every day for a year, you'll make $100,000. Boom. That was January 1st, 2024. Did $4 million.
Nice.
First year full time in real estate with his plan.
Yeah. So you got right about there.
Yeah. After all splits, I was like 82.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Yeah, in a down market.
That's a B.
Yeah, that's a B.
That's a passing grade.
But then, now fast forward another year, I did the same process, but I refined it. I buffed it. I added my own flair and my own processes. And I'm a Virgo, but I'm also just analytical by nature. And so I got his plan, and I made it better. And now I just did, 6.2?
Nice.
And actually hit six figures from a commission split perspective.
Nice. Congrats.
That kind of gives me a baseline. It's okay. I know I need to do at least 6 with all the splits if I'm 70-30 lead to sphere to get 6 figures in a down market with these rates.
Well, I want to talk not on this podcast, but about doing a lot more of the sphere stuff. That's something I'm really, really good at, and it took me a while to figure out. And I've been really successful at helping agents be more successful at capitalizing on, basically self-generated leads, because I don't think I need to tell you, like, you could probably do a third less in production if it's
And
all
make the same.
self-gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll
If
talk about that.
if I did 4 million of Sphere business, if I did 4 million of Sphere business, I would have done more in commissions than my 6 million in a 70-30 lead Sphere business.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you do 1/3 the business,
Yeah.
1/3 less, and you make more money. Like, we're about the same. And again, this is one of my value adds when I talk to real estate agents, as far as, like, people always ask, like, well, you're a lender, what are you going to do for me? And they immediately think I'm going to talk about white glove service, rates, and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. And the one thing I've identified in our business is that nobody really wants to talk to me. You know, I'm the money guy. I'm the one that's going to give you debt.
Yeah.
The real estate agent's the one that's going to, like, show you a home.
We've got all the tricks.
Right. Well, you guys
Right.
have, you're just more sought after to speak to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of like, I'm like the principal. You're like the teacher.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm aware of it, and I'm not trying to, you know, one of my lines in life is sometimes you just have to ride the horse in the direction that it's going.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to steer this wild fucking stallion, right?
You're like the sauce 7 at the bar, and we're the hot girl.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I get this, right? So the more successful that I can make my agents and, you know, get them more business, the more that it helps me.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds cliche, but, you know, in addition to truly trying to make agents more successful, I'm very good at forcing them to recognize that a lot of the tips, tricks, and stuff like that were things that I showed them, so that reciprocity doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But to your point on the, you know, that's awesome. I love that story. I do have some questions though I did not anticipate asking now that I heard this whole bar thing, because I'm honestly curious.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you purchased the bar, you raised the money. I want to talk a little bit about that, because that stuff always interests me. But before we get into that, you said that you had a lot of vendors that basically, like, screwed you over, the sound guy, this guy, that guy. One of the things that I've identified in my younger years, and I'm unfortunately a lot older than you, right? But I remember being at your age, and tell me if this is your experience, and if not, I want to know how it went down. There's a lot of fake it till you make it, right? So, like, you mentioned, like, the sound guy, the GC, all of this stuff. You come to find out, like, a lot of people are like, yeah, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and then they couldn't, right? Whether it be just because they were flat out lying, or, like, maybe they didn't know exactly all that it entailed. Do you think that was avoidable? Do you think it was like a situation where you just, like, took people's word, or you trusted people, or, like, how do you think that happened?
Yeah, it happened because of a lack of experience on my end.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what would you have done differently?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this, and it's going to sound one way when I tell you now,
Mm-hmm.
because I've had years to reflect on this.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of lonely, like, kind of very hard nights on myself through the process and post the process, kind of asking.
Mm-hmm.
All that to say, doing what I did and the process I did was the best I could with the information I had.
Mm-hmm.
So there are no regrets.
Of course.
But knowing what I know now, if I were to guide somebody in that direction, I guess this is how I would have done it, which is I would have done a slightly deeper analysis on the geographic location before we even signed the lease.
Mm-hmm.
There's markets like Austin, but then, of course, there's sub-markets like 4th Street, east side of 35, East 6th, Cesar Chavez on the east side, MLK on the east side, West Campus, the Warehouse District, which I guess is a bit of 4th, and then you have 6th, and then Dirty, and Rainy, and Menchaca. These are all sub-markets.
Yeah.
Regardless, I would have done a bit more digging, and I actually would have gone into bars and asked to speak to the manager before signing a lease. Be like, hey, just curious, have there been bars that have come and gone here? Why do you think they left? Why are y'all still here? Just doing that with the bars that were already present, I would have learned half of the mistakes I ended up making after owning it. For example, I went into that demographic thinking I had a 12-month business, but they're college students. So they're gone in Christmas break and they're gone in the summer. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a 12-month business. I have a 9-month business.
Yeah.
And so even if you do 9 months okay, 9 months okay isn't going to foot the 3 or 4 months you're essentially not open.
Right.
That's just before even operating. But I think, because I could talk about this for 2 hours, but I think that's important to say, the front end homework of your sub market
Okay.
and really doing that homework on who's really here and how often are they here. But then if I had to pick the singular thing that I could have done differently that could have changed the trajectory of the project, I think was hiring the right GC
Okay.
and not saying and sharing and expecting that other men, right? Because I'm part of it when I was going through the process was men helping men. I'm a young cat.
Yep.
I raise this money for people that care about me. I'm looking at you as my teacher, my guidance, Mr. Plumber, Mr. GC, Mr. Sound Guy, whatever. I am pouring my heart out to you that I have poured my heart into this project to get this money. I hope you do the right thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I went about it.
Trust.
I assumed that my mission was almost a divine mission, and it's like, there's no way you're going to screw me over if I tell you how I got to this point. That was the worst thing I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
They just saw like a little lamb, and they took me for what we had, and that was unfortunate. And I think that's part of my tenacity and my demeanor now, is that at least in certain spaces, when you're that soft, it actually won't help you. Sometimes you kind of have to be that like maverick leader and no, this is actually how it's going to go.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that, the analogy you gave is that, they took you as the little lamb. Is it possible that it wasn't malicious and it was more ignorance?
No, because a true professional knows what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a true professional, a true educator, and a grounded man, in my opinion, would have said, hey, you're in over your head. This is going to cost way more than you think. Here's my number. I'm going to walk you through how I got you to this number. I normally don't do this for other clients, but I feel for you and your mission. Mm-hmm. Here's how I got to this number. Here's why I'm charging this margin. Here's my track record of success. And because I've been in your shoes or I've met other guys like you, I'm going to take the time to teach you what situation you're actually about to get yourself in.
And then, so what these guys did was basically like under or over promised, under delivered type thing. It was
Correct.
constantly change orders, like, oh, it's just cost more. And and just to be clear, you believe that was intentional, or you believe that they just had no idea what they were doing and they were going into it hoping that it was just all going to work out?
I believe in shades of gray. I used to think things were black and white.
Yeah.
So as you described it, it's like, well, was it malicious or not?
Mm-hmm.
I think that let's call it out of 100 days of working together with these individual guys,
Yeah.
I would say 70 of those 100 days, 70% of the time it was malicious.
Wow.
There were moments
That
where
hurts.
I'm sure, yeah. There were moments where I'm sure where they're like, you know what, fuck, we're going to help them out right here because we fucked him over there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's here every fucking day and he's trying. But at the end of the day, and who gives a fuck? They didn't. And yeah. So yeah.
Where do you think that comes from with people?
Not giving a fuck?
Yeah.
I think it's a lack of like dedication, and there's kind of like a lost like code, right? Like you kind of used to hear it more, like just kind of like an unspoken code of things. And I think the problem,
Like do unto others as you would want done to yourself type of thing?
well, part of it's like the golden rule,
Right.
right? I think all of that has kind of been washed because our religion is capitalism.
Right.
It's about profit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be the demise of this country. And we're setting the stage for the rest of the world. That capitalism and profits and increasing shareholder value is the priority. Now, when you take that on an interpersonal level, at the end of the day, it's like, well, you're an electrician and you got to make your P&Ls make sense.
Right.
So you got to do what you got to do. But if everybody's doing what they got to do and nobody's looking out for each other, then there are going to be certain people that get a shorter end of the stick, and then it's not a sustainable model.
Yeah. You're bumming me out.
Do what?
It bums me out.
Yeah, but it's just the reality is when we've made the dollar, and every, we look at the education system to our police force to everything, even some of the major stuff that's going on in the world right now, and it's really all about money. And so I think that's what it is. I think it's hard to be a business owner, regardless if you own a cleaning company, a plumber.
Of course, yeah.
So do I condemn them? No. Do I hate them? No. Um, am I disappointed in them? Sure. But at the end of the day, like, you do kind of have to conform to this world, and that is the world that we live in today. So I'm not saying fuck people over because you're going to get fucked over, or maybe fuck this person over because somebody's fucked you over. That's not what I'm saying. But everybody is going to do, not they should, everybody will do what is best for them in the aggregate.
Right.
Yeah, out of 100 days, most people are going to do what's best for them the majority of the time.
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought it up because it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because, you know, in my job, of course, as interest rates rise, the number one conversation becomes like, you know, what's my rate going to be? What's this going to cost? And, you know, the value of serving someone and creating a good experience has really taken a back seat to whatever the numbers are going to be. And
Yeah.
it's almost as if the client, in my line at least, not just real estate, but in the lending side of things, is almost convinced that they're going to have a shitty experience no matter what.
Yeah.
So if they know they're going to have a shitty experience, then fuck it. Like, who's going to give me the best deal?
Yeah.
Which again kind of bums me out because I think most, you know, we want our customers to feel like it was seamless, right? And that's what everybody says they're going to do, but that doesn't always, you know, that doesn't always mean that's what's going to happen. And in the end, it doesn't matter anyway. So I think with the story that you told, the part that kind of frustrates me is like, if I'm reading you correctly, because this stuff happened to you, it's almost like, man, I would never want someone to experience what I had to experience, and therefore I would never want to put someone in that position, right? And I like to think that other people feel that way, but now that we're talking through it, it's like the idea that someone gets screwed over, let's say, and the mentality isn't, I'm going to make sure that I never do that to anybody because I don't want anyone to experience the way it made me feel, could actually be, well, this is how I'm going to operate because this is the way things are. That bums me out.
Yeah. Yeah, it is unfortunate that that's kind of where things are. I would say kind of the oversimplified way how I kind of look at it now is like a stock.
Mm-hmm.
If you made money in a stock, somebody probably lost money. There has to be winners and losers. That is a marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Any marketplace has winners and losers. I think part of the
it could be a trade.
Yeah, but that's a perceived thing. I'm going
Right.
to trade you this cup of coffee for that plant. I need that plant more than I need this cup of coffee.
Sure.
So there's a perceived equal value.
Right.
Yeah. So no, correct. Not every exchange is a win-lose. But when it comes to money, specifically dollar signs, I feel like it kind of teeters more on a black and white versus kind of a barter system, which is a gray. Which I also look at commodities right now, like gold, silver, copper.
Right, right.
And so I think that's an indicator, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Got a bucket of copper in that closet right there.
Yeah, man.
I'm dead
Don't tell
serious.
too many people. But I think that's part of the reason why I'm very forward now is instead of kind of creating this charade of, you know, I'm really helping you, but maybe not, or maybe I can help you with the rate, but not as low of a rate, or this or that, or the other. I'm very just, this is what it is. This is how I am, and this is my process. And I let people decide. And I think that takes away all the bullshit.
Yeah.
Opposed to kind of making this like this interaction, like, what are you going to do for me? I've had some clients, especially leads, where there is no relationship, right? So when you're dealing with a lead, especially like a Zillow lead,
Yeah.
you know, I'm getting a call at 9 a.m. on a Monday, and I'm touring them that same Monday at 3 p.m. And, you know, I had a couple last week. What's today? Oh, no, I guess
30th.
it was Tuesday. 'Cause today's Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it was like Tuesday. Just right off the bat, just wall up. And the fastest way to penetrate, in my mind, through a wall is, yes, you can be a chameleon, but it's also, do I want to be a chameleon, which feels a bit inauthentic, and over the long run, it's tiring?
Yeah.
Or do I just beeline it to who I am naturally, and then just pick up on the body cues like, oh, you know what? I beeline it to who I am naturally in this process, and I can tell they don't like it. It's kind of like dating. I used to think that, oh, well, this girl didn't like me, so I got to adapt to what it is she likes. That is not how I think about dating or business in the present. This is who I am, and I believe that this is true and best for me. And if you can jive with that, right? Like, let's say, hypothetically, we were dating, you were a girl, right?
Sure.
I shouldn't have to conform,
Right.
nor should she.
Agreed.
In the client space, I feel like it's the same. Neither of us should really be conforming. Now, we can compromise on certain things, right? And we can communicate well, and we can potentially agree to disagree on certain things, right? Like if I show a client comps on a property and they're like, well, actually, let's back it up to this guy. He's like, I don't think it's worth what they're asking. I said, well, what are they asking? He didn't even know the price.
Right.
He's like, well, I think it's around 300. I said, yeah, it's 320. So right there, I already knew where the conversation was going. You don't think it's worth the price, but you can't even reference the price? So then the next thing was, well, I think we can get a lot less. I was like, well, how much is a lot less? He couldn't answer that. And he's like, well, what's the going price per square feet in Leander? I said, well, it depends. What part of Leander? And are we talking about 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, like this property, or are we talking about a 4-bedroom? I said, so I can't answer that question. But then I show him the comps, and he's like, well, I still don't think it's worth that. I said, okay, and this is the whole barter system kind of thing, perceived value. But it's like, okay, well, out of a 6 value set, out of 6 properties, this is number 2 on the price per square foot. So the market is saying that it's a discount buy. You're saying it's not worth it.
Right.
So it's like, well, who's right? Well, the market's always right.
Sure.
So this is just not the house for you. And so we moved on. So it's interesting. All this going back to agents just got to have a process and be naturally them. And hopefully you're seeing enough people where it's like dating. Yep, we're going to be a good fit. We're probably not going to be a good fit.
So does this guy end up being a good fit, or are we still figuring that
out?
out?
Still remains to be seen. I send him comps. I send him other options. And whenever I get people like that, I also like to say, anybody can open a door. I said, there's plenty of door openers here in Austin.
Sure.
That's not me. I said, honestly, I hate opening doors. I said, if I could never open another door, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd rather talk about the things that matter. What's more important to you, price, geographic location, or aesthetic? Okay, now that we have that, what's your timeline? Oh, it's 3 to 6 months. Okay, have you gotten to having these conversations, that is AKA the process. Sure. And then some people really love it. And there's a lot of people that don't. I can't say a lot because, I would say 4 out of 10 people don't like my process. I don't even know if they're looking for a process.
Probably not.
No. I think they just want somebody to smile, shake my hand, and show up on time.
Right.
Write my offer. Leave me alone, Mr. Realtor.
I don't even think they want to write offers, man.
Yeah. Well, that's what's crazy is, in my mind, this is a great market. When you look at the data, right, and it depends what county. Hayes County, it's a good and bad market. It's good because appreciation's higher than Travis or Williamson. Travis, it's coming down, so I guess it's not good for sellers. Williamson County is kind of in between Travis and Hayes. But
well, it's kind of like what you said, where somebody's winning, somebody else is losing.
Correct. Yeah. And I feel bad for
who
Travis
are you,
sellers.
right?
Yeah.
So which one are you?
Correct. And well, that goes back to a perfect market to buy. It's like, well, again, the 3-legged stool of geographic location, aesthetic, and price.
Yep.
Once you tell me which one, I can tell you which county. And I can tell you which part in which county. And again, that's all a process, and some clients just don't like that. But then kind of I feel like this is part of Inception. We're going back to the very top, which is just be who you naturally are, and it's going to work for some clients and not, which then goes back to the bar thing. Yeah.
So going back to the bar thing, because I had my other question. Raising money, man. I hear that all the time, and it's something that's always interesting to me because I personally have never done anything like that, and without going into too much of a deep dive and getting any kind of personal information involved, what's that process like? Because I hear people that are like, oh, I just need to raise money, but they don't know how to do it, or they don't even know where to start. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. I want to preface, is it preface or preface?
Preface.
I want to preface with 2 statements. One, the people that gave me that money, there was already a deep relationship and,
Okay.
and trust. And I really appreciate the opportunity that they gave me gave us, right? Because I didn't know it was a team, but
Okay.
the opportunity that we gave each other, so much love and respect for that opportunity. And then the second thing is, in a way, I kind of had a leg up in that space because what's the difference between you being a prospective client, you having 250,000 at Schwab, me asking you to bring it to New York Life and saying that I'm going to do better for you than the no advisor you have at Schwab that you just have a 1-800 number. That conversation about moving money from here to here and the value out of working with me was already established. I already had that conversation 1,000 times
Okay.
before asking for $1.
Right.
So that's kind of like the two. So then to answer your question, well, how does that work? How I did it based on what I've learned and insert Taylor into the story is while we were at New York Life, we had a networking event for 2 years. It was called the Tech Map, the co-founder meetup. The point was like a mini Shark Tank, excuse me. And so what we did was it was once a month or once every 2 months. I think it was once a month. We would have 60 people. Of the 60, 5 to 8 people would pitch an idea. The rest were people that were listening that maybe worked at another firm that either wanted to join the project or invest in the project. And then we would have 2 to 3 guys who actually had major money that were actually there to see if they wanted to invest. We ran this event. The Tech Map was not our product or our business. That was another guy's product and business. But to help his business, we ran this at the Capital Factory at the Omni downtown. So for 2 years, me and Taylor are watching how these two individuals interact. People with money and people with an idea. People with an idea are like a lab dog.
Yeah.
It's like, everybody should know about this cool thing I'm doing. And then people with money are more like whatever the exact opposite of a lab is. They're more reserved.
turtle.
Yeah, they're a turtle. They're not moving really fast. They don't care to really talk to a ton of people.
Right.
Their time's valuable.
Tortoise and the hare. Slow
Correct.
and steady wins the race.
That's exactly it. And so not only did we see how they interacted person to person with a cocktail or with a beer or whatever, we then saw the problem with the creative, and you have to be a creative to start a business, is that they don't know how to sell the product. And so a lot of these people had great ideas, but they themselves weren't selling it probably the best. And so we saw that for 2 years. And if I could extrapolate one thing that most people did wrong was they talked too much about money. They talked about too much about how they valued it. They talked about too much about where the money was going. They talked too much about the pro forma and the projections. And the problem with that is people with money will automatically assume that they know more than these individuals that are talking about it because one person has the money and the other person needs the money. So just naturally, it's like, well, who knows more about money?
Right.
I don't think that's necessarily true. But
It's not helping your case.
Yeah, in the aggregate, I do think there's some merit to it. Jeff Bezos, well, I guess he got a check from his family, so that's
Right.
different. But he didn't have money, right? He needed the money. So anyway, so we're running this event, and we see this. And so fast forward to me needing to raise 400 grand. I realized that the worst thing I could do was have a pitch deck, which has concept heavy throughout the flow of the presentation, but with financials, usually a pro forma like at the end, or projected P&Ls, whatever. I was like, that's the worst thing I could do. So let me do a concept deck. This is purely conceptual, mainly pictures. I'm the one that's navigating you through the photos, and we're going to have no financials. And so what that does is people get more excited about creativity than they do about money. Mm-hmm. Now, eventually people get excited about money because they want to make money. But in an initial interaction, you want to activate the right brain, the creative side. And so that's what I did. I did a concept deck that had no financials and almost no words. I hired somebody off Upwork to create a 3D rendering of this imagined place, the cauldron. I hired this lady in Colombia. I said, hey, this is the place. I don't have any plans for you because she's an architect. In order to have plans, you need an architect. So she's an architect out of Colombia, but through Upwork because I couldn't afford a US one. And she pretty much was like, so you want me to create a space and you have no plans? I was like, I have a keyboard and my words. She makes the plans. Once we have the plans, we can create renderings. Once we have renderings, we can put it on a presentation. So da-da-da-da, now I have a presentation. And so I think I went up to 9 people, and out of 9 people, 5 said yes. And what the strategy was, do you even think a concept like this could even make money? Whether you were running it, I was running it, Joe Schmo over here, MML Group was running it, who cares? Does this concept make sense? Coffee and cocktails, making money around the clock. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, well, do you even like coffee? Yeah, I like coffee. Do you like, where do you grab a cocktail?
Right.
And so having these conversations about, okay, well, you drink coffee and you drink cocktails and you think this concept would make sense. And that's just kind of like the art of the pause, right? It's like, oh, well, this is the cauldron. And then boom, that's really when it started. So then there was like, well, what about this? What about the financials? And where's it going to be? It's like, whoa, I just wanted to see if this was even something you wanted.
Right.
I still have X amount of people to talk to.
Right.
And thank you for your questions. If this is something that interests you, I'd love to reconnect with you in a month. So now it's like, well, yeah, I want to learn more, but I got to wait a month? It's like, yeah, I got other people to talk to. And so it was a bit of selling, but also being strategic in the information and being able to talk about money without necessarily having 400 grand in my personal bank account.
Right.
And so it was it was an art.
Yeah.
It was an art. But it was something I had learned through New York Life. And at the end of the day, they bet on the jockey, not the horse. Do I think you can get this done? I think Isaac can get this done. And that's what they gave the money for. Mm-hmm. This jockey is going to do this, and I know he's going to do it just like that. So there was a level of trust too.
Do you think that, just based on what I'm hearing right now, do you think things would be totally different if location was different? Do you think that was the main issue?
The amount of people that said to me, Isaac, this concept would have been the place in Austin if it was anywhere but here. The amount of times I've heard that, it's like every time I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
It hurts. Because it's like I had all the ingredients, right?
Sure.
I had, our marketing was, incredible. Our menu was great. Our pricing could have been better on the front end, but only because of our demographic we served, students. But the music, everything, like it took so much work to get it that exact.
You think that there's a possibility of revamping it if the time presents itself?
No.
Okay.
If I get back into hospitality, it will be because I have so much monthly cash flow that I just need something fun to do. So some guys go buy a Lamborghini. I may go open up another bar.
Right.
If I crash a Lamborghini, if I have true Lamborghini money, not like crypto broke Lambo money.
I got you.
Then who gives a fuck?
Right.
I got more money.
Yeah.
If I got back into hospitality, it'd be more of a tavern kind of, I know it's going to sound kind of corny and just corny, but kind of like a Lord of the Rings, like tavern.
Yeah, I get you.
Irish kind of bar, like everything's fucking wood, lights always dim, maybe one small TV. You're not going there to watch sports. You're going there to be in this like man dungeon.
They got a lot of those in Germany.
Yeah, something like that. I think I would do that again, and I'd be okay writing a check if it wasn't making money because at least I fucking want to go there.
Right.
That would be the only way I go into hospitality and
maybe light up a cigar.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you can smoke here. But yeah, if I got back into hospitality, it'd be something like that. I wouldn't do coffee again. I definitely wouldn't do a restaurant. The margins on that's even worse and less predictable. With now you've got with the restaurant, you got all the food products and materials pricing going up and down, but also liquor and beer, which is more stable than food.
More variables, more problems.
Exactly. And so I'm actually about to already dipping my toes into e-com. So that's kind of my next frontier. That's what I was saying when we walked in. I was like, I got a lot on my plate. Me and my brother are building an e-com brand.
Okay.
I won't say much about it on this podcast until we're formally, or I won't say much to the world until we've at least done probably 50 grand in at least revenue, not profit, but at least revenue. I don't want to come back into the world and say, look at the shiny thing I got, until I've actually got something that is shining.
Right, right.
But yeah, we launched our first product the 3rd week of February. And the only thing I'll say is it's a supplement. Now, if it's a man and woman supplement, I'll keep that private. And what it does, I'll keep that private. And what the price point is and all that, I'll keep that private. But it is we're utilizing Amazon seller. And yeah, we're going to try our hand in e-com, because people are either consuming or they're producing. And I'd rather be a producer. But also, if things go awry in the U.S., which part of this business plan of being in e-com is being pessimistic about the intermediate and long-term nature of the country. But if you're in e-com, then even if my manufacturer and my logistics person are here in the States, I can go be in Singapore.
Yeah.
And nothing changes. So yeah, that's kind of like the next step for me is done with brick and mortar, done with hospitality. I know I'm great at real estate, and the numbers are showing that it's improving. So it's like, okay, this is safe real estate. When you open your own e-com brand, you're really kind of like a VC firm.
Yeah.
Let's go make 20 products knowing that one may hit, and the rest are probably going to lose us a little bit of money, or they'll putter along. So I think with that mentality of, hey, we're a VC firm, we're not just launching a product and hoping for the best. This is just one of 20 companies we've got to open in hopes of making it big.
I got you. What do you think? What do you think is next for you in real estate? I mean, it sounds like you're doing good. It sounds like you're sticking with it. Like,
yeah,
I know I read your article in Real Producer and the goals and everything like that. Like, what's the next aspirations in real estate?
Yeah, it's 50% better every year. So 4
Okay.
million, 50% better, 6 million.
Yep.
So we hit that. And I actually journaled that January 25th of 25.
Mm-hmm.
I have one journal for a year, and I have a word of the year. A word of the year for 25 was love. The word for 26 is forgiveness. But at the back of every journal for the year, I write a letter to the end of my year self.
Okay.
So January 25th of 25, I wrote an entry at the back of the journal. So obviously I'm hundreds of pages from there.
Right.
And one of the things I wrote down was I wanted to do 12 podcast episodes. I think I did 10.
Okay.
I wanted to do 6 million. I did 6.2. And yeah, and for better or worse, the only thing I wrote down were financial goals in the back. But, I hit one and kind of hit the other. So now 50% better on 6 is 9.
Right.
Well,
Let's just go with 10.
A lot of people have said that, but there's a systematic process to the 50%.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are BHAG people, big, hairy, audacious goals, right? It's like, well, shoot for 15, and if you hit 11, then you did. It's like, yeah, but I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
Yeah, I don't roll like that.
No. And I'd rather say 9 and be at, just like I say 6, and I'd rather be 6.2. Mm-hmm. I'd rather that than say 9 and be at 6.2.
Right.
Because then nobody's patting me on the back but me.
Right.
But if I hit my goal and exceeded it, and everybody knew what the goal was, then I really don't have to say anything.
Correct.
You already knew what my goal was. I got the award. So we know what's going on.
Yeah.
9 million is also, what's special about 9 million in the down market, what I've noticed on the top 500 producers, the top 2.5% of agents in Austin. I don't know if it's Austin or Travis County. But anyway, usually the 500th person is making somewhere between like 9 million and 9.5. I'll be curious to see what the numbers are for 25. They're about to come out, which is why I've gotten really close with the real producers, people, specifically Jason. Jason watches this, he's great, and he's the one who runs Real Producers. Mm-hmm. But it's important to know this information. What are the top 2.5% of agents doing? What's number 500 doing? That's kind of your barometer. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like I've done anything until I break into that. Okay. Once I'm a top 500 guy, which I bet you the 500th person will probably do about 8, because I think 25 was a worse year for overall in the aggregate for real estate than 24. But that's the next thing, is I don't care to be a top 5 agent at my brokerage. I want to be a top 2.5% agent in my city.
Sure.
And then from there, I don't think there's anything really left, which is partially why I'm doing the e-com thing. I don't want to be a broker. I realized through the bar business, I wanted to be a leader when I had the bar. And then when you manage 25 rugrats, 25 college students, now that's like managing a U10 soccer girls team.
It's like herding cats.
Correct. Now, I'm not sure that if my staff average age, which was probably 20, I'm not sure I would have gotten a completely different result if it was 25. Because at the end of the day, if you're childish and lazy, you're going to be childish and lazy regardless of your age.
I would agree with that.
So I don't want to lead. So I don't want to be a broker. I don't want more money, more problems being a broker. I don't want all the compliance of being a broker. I don't even want to lead a team. I tried flirting with the idea of leading a team, and what I realized is what it took for me to do the production I'm doing was a very specific way. I have a lot of respect for people who pick up the phone and start dialing. Well, for Wall Street, but that is, when I saw that movie, and then I was at New York Life, guess what we did at New York Life for 2 years straight?
Picked up the phone
And started dialing. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Yeah. And that was it. Me and Taylor would have a little piece of fucking little like notepad. And we couldn't leave the office until we had 30 little tallies. Now, for people that are in outside sales, maybe inside as well, but more outside sales, because outside sales is more call heavy than inside. They both are call heavy. Well, if there's an outside sales rep that may watch this, they're going to be like, 30. Motherfucker, we do 150 a day, 300 a day. Knowing that 30 really wasn't shit. That was at New York Life. But then I brought that to the Cody system and did it at Sprout. And that's how I did 4 million in 24, was because I picked up the phone and started dialing. Right. It wasn't because of leads. Now I'm on leads, but I've kind of earned that. So I don't want to own a brokerage. I don't want to lead a team because it's crazy. I want to say this the right way. There's a lot of agents, regardless of which brokerage, that don't pick up the phone. They rather text or email.
Okay, yeah.
I would be doing another agent a disservice teaching them my way, because it is not what the 90% are going to want to do. And instead of pulling teeth out of somebody, it's like, yo, bro, you got to pick up the phone. I'm sorry. And it's like, you won't even role play with me? You won't even role play objections?
Oh, but that's not my thing.
Correct. It's not my thing. It's
right.
like, oh, shit, well, I don't know what it is, but it ain't me, so right. I'm out.
I feel that.
And so that's why I don't want to lead a team, because I can only teach you what I've done. And to teach you something I haven't done is fake.
Bro, you sound just like me like 10 years ago. I'm not even joking. Because I got a question for you after this. Keep going.
Yeah, but that's it. And so, like, what's the next step? I think the next step is I get the top 500, regardless if it's number 500 or 400. That's it. I've earned my green jacket.
Right.
I am the top 2.5%, whether I did it for 1 year or 2 year. You know, I don't think it really matters. And you see this in some of the interviews with some of the greats from all sports, but I'm not sure there's a lot more happiness that comes from 1 or from 5 rings or jackets, right? What you do see is a lot of the people that didn't get a ring or a jacket and what that did to them psychologically. So for me, it's like, okay, if I'm a top 500 guy once or 10 times, what does it matter? I made it. At that point in time, I was a top guy, which is why I think the next step really is going to be more e-com for me. Because the problem with being a top 500 guy and keep continuously chasing that carrot is, A, I'm going to geographically be stuck to Austin unless I go open up like a shop in LA or New York, which again, more money, more time, more problems, more compliance, more bullshit. I want simplicity. And so I hope it is e-com, because I'd rather hang up my boots with my green jacket and say I did that in that part of life and I'm out.
So let me ask you this, and you might not know the answer for this right away, but if I encourage you to at least think on it. So let's say like everything that you just mentioned happens all the way up to like, you know, you get the green jacket, everything, you're about to hang up your boots and whatnot. And all of a sudden people kind of start coming to you and they're like, hey, like, I think you should manage. In fact, I want you to manage me. People are coming to you and almost treating you like you've got some sort of like responsibility, if you will, to to manage and teach.
Yeah.
What do you do then?
No.
All right.
Yeah. I think I know that the only way I'd actually teach again or lead is my kind of like 20, 30-year goal. It's probably more of a 30-year goal, which is to be a professor at Texas State.
Okay.
That will happen, regardless of if econ works or not. Even if econ works and I go live in Singapore, when I'm 60, I'm coming back to San Marcos, and I'm going to give back to the institution that gave it me, um, and teach, and hopefully create. I would love to create my own course, and the things that I've learned in my life. I will do that all day because a professor and those students, there's a huge difference of a hierarchy. You don't like my class, get out. You're on your phone, get out. You're talking, get out. I run this ship. And if you're here and you want to extrapolate some information from somebody who's been there and done that, then please take a seat in the front row.
What if you get that opportunity in business?
It's different because I think in business, it's about the money. Am I being compensated enough to deal with your lack of
What if you
initiative?
don't need the money?
Then I'd rather be a professor, which is why the professor thing makes sense in every aspect. I don't need the money you're giving me to be a professor. Whether it's, 30 years from now, a professor's probably going to make closer to $250,000 because the dollar gets cut in half every 25 years.
Right.
I wouldn't be a professor for the money. I would be a professor to get my name somewhere in the school, on some plaque somewhere. Instead of it being the School of McCoy, it's the School of Isaac Quintanilla. How can I start an endowment at the school? Those are the things, legacy, that I think is what's more important. How can I give back to the football program? Not that I play football because I didn't, but if the football program does better, then the school will do better.
Right.
So it's things like that that I can still build. I can still be creative. It's not about the money, and I get to lead it in a different way. Where, like, let's say somebody wanted me to lead their brokerage. Let's say Cody's like, I need you to lead my brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
I could pour my heart and soul into Mr. Joe Schmo over here, who wants to be the next biggest realtor. And in 12 months, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go bartend. This is aim for me. A part of my soul just fucking left. Like, what? With the student, they kind of have to be there. And what they do with it is up to them. And then I get to have, I don't know, do you watch Harry Potter?
No.
Okay.
I missed those years.
Yeah.
I was a little too old for Harry Potter.
There was, I don't know if it's a sixth movie, Professor Slughorn
Uh-huh.
is a professor in the sixth movie.
Okay.
He used to teach at Hogwarts. He left for like 10, 15 years. He came back. But one of the scenes that I like is at the beginning of the movie, Dumbledore and Harry find him at this like safe house that he's trying to hide himself from the Dementors and all the bad people. Well, when they find him, he has this little like table. And the table has pictures of students of his that actually did something in their life. And there's probably like 15 or 20 of them. Political leaders, the leader of the Harpy Eagles, which is some Quidditch women's professional. I mean, there was all these different people.
Sure. People who've gone on to do great things.
But as a byproduct of his teachings,
Mm-hmm.
that I can get behind. Because like, wait, I taught you when I was 62 and now you're like the governor of Texas or whatever. And you can reference back to our classroom that is part of a prequel that got you to where you're at now. That's impact.
You don't think there's anybody you've impacted already that there's a possibility that years to come they're going to look back and say that meeting with you was impactful for them?
I'm sure maybe there's one or two.
So it doesn't have to be in just a teaching setting.
No, it doesn't have to be in just a teaching setting. The problem with it not being in a teaching setting is, and I guess this is revealing to myself as I'm about to say this, is I may impact somebody and I may never know. Their life may be 100% better. And there may not be any of this dialogue on, hey, I really appreciate this, and because you said this or because you showed me that. It's like, kind of goes back to where this conversation started, is like kind of this consumerism of information. Thank you for helping me. I'm going to go be great. On one end, I should be happy for that person.
Right.
Hey, I impacted you positively and you were able to do something great in your life.
That's how I see it.
On the flip side, there's kind of this, I think it even goes back to like even the older days where like there is a master. I'm not saying I'm the master of these people just because I've impacted you. but this kind of nostalgic relationship between master and student,
Mm-hmm.
or like pupil and student, or like Star Wars, I think is a great example.
Okay.
Like Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Right.
There's this special relationship and hierarchy that remains timeless. And there's this dialogue. I think Obi-Wan was able to get to where he was with Anakin and even beyond because of the dialogue of the pupil and kind of master. That dialogue that continues.
We call that culture.
Culture, reciprocity.
Right. But I mean, there was a chain of command,
Yeah,
which is built by culture.
yeah.
And you feel like in business, that's a little
Especially as a 1099 guy,
right.
right? And everybody's 1099.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's said a lot in our brokerage is, I'm not going to go to that meeting. Well, I'm not getting paid to go to the meeting. Or, thank you for teaching that, Isaac, but that's just not for me. Or, it's just kind of like, I feel like it's less intertwined. I think part of what's going to make life great when I'm 70, 80, 90 is how intertwined am I with people. I'd rather be highly intertwined with fewer people that I've impacted greatly, that had a dialogue that lasted a lifetime, than to micro impact people over a lifetime and never know about it. Because part of that value is knowing that you impacted somebody.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, one of the things you got me thinking about now with the whole 1099 idea, and it goes back to how this all just started. I agree with you, and it does. It comes down to culture, right? Because if you could create a company culture that sought value in some of the things that you made mention of, but you go back to the 1099 comment and you say like, yeah, I don't have to be here. I'm not feeling this, or this isn't what I want to do. And so it's debatable based on that comment that companies sacrifice culture for potential profit.
Absolutely. And we see it I see it in my own brokerage.
Right.
Every day.
That there are people there that are hurting the culture, and the idea is, well, this could lead to more money, but then I would argue, and again, you'll never know how to quantify it, but I would argue that getting rid of the person that is hurting the culture might actually increase the profitability for the people who want to be there, similar to your classroom setting.
Correct. And I know, and what pains me in this specific conversation is no way to quantify that on the front end.
Right.
There is no way to say if we get rid of these three people, then the overall morale of the business would increase by what amount? Because we're in a capitalist society.
Well,
so
it's got to be by at least the loss of the three people in terms of production.
plus any, variance of loss. And so then it's like, well, yeah, it's cost plus 10% or cost plus 20. And when you're running a business, you got to do what's best for you. And what's best for the business is what is making the business work now. And so there's kind of this.
Well, and I think for a lot of business owners, what they think is best for them is not doing the hard work. And sometimes the hard work is having the hard conversation.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of business owners and a lot of managers that they're good at almost everything, but you know what they have a really difficult time doing is letting people go.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems we faced on the majority of our tenure at the Cauldron was we hired fast and we fired slow, and it should have been the inverse.
Sure. Well, I think you see that in relationships between men, women, or just any kind of relationship. I can't tell you how many people I've seen stay in unhealthy relationships because they're just afraid to break up with someone.
I'm one of those people. I hope after my last relationship that I've learned enough to know better going forward. And now, I'm seeing this new girl, and she's great. And it's cool to see what a healthy dynamic looks like. But back to the workplace, it's cool to see what a healthy dynamic looks like, but the difference is one is ran by money and one is not.
Mm-hmm.
Interpersonal relationships, all you lose is your emotions, which can then fuck you over on your money because now I'm depressed and so now I can't go talking.
Well, everything comes down to power, right?
Correct. And so, yeah, there's a bit of risk, and we're in very uncertain times. Like the amount of times I've heard people say rates are coming down. Here's the thing. If rates come down, it's because Mr. President made it happen, not because the Fed made it happen.
Right.
Which is a problem in itself because there's supposed to be a separation of power. If it artificially gets decreased, I think there's going to be negative repercussions.
For sure.
If it doesn't decrease, at least it's controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
either way, I don't think our business is going to get easier over the next 5 years. I think every year it's going to get a little bit harder. The golden years of 2015 to 2020, like that was like if it was a stock, it would have looked like this. But what happens when a stock reaches its peak? Look at crypto as a great example.
Sure.
Look at Ethereum as a great example, where it hit almost 6, and where's it at now? Like 28.
Mm-hmm.
That is, in my opinion, the Central Texas real estate market. And so I have a lot of respect for agents that are coming to the business now, because you didn't get a taste of what it looked like to win a $100,000 over asking price offer, nor did I. So we don't know what that looks like.
I was in the business for 20 years, and that was the first time I ever saw it.
Yeah. And just like clients when they want a 2.75 rate, it's like that was a global problem that caused that to happen.
Correct.
Unless you want millions of people to die again, then you better get comfortable with this. And that's just also framing, like, what's the average 30-year note rate? It's 7.
Yeah, it's like 6.5. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it depends on,
Yeah.
conventional or FHA or whatever. But you're getting the average rate right now.
This is it.
And you could do new construction and get 3.99. Now, of course, there's all the other fees that they fucking add on and all the bullshit.
Right. We talk about that a lot on here.
It is a sham. That's a whole other thing.
Oh, yeah. Not doing anybody any favors.
No, they're just taking it in other ways. But yeah, to answer your question, it would have to be in a professor-pupil mindset. And there's a reason why, Harry Potter, I think, did well globally in Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is you have those dynamics playing in those films.
Sure.
And I think that speaks to people like deep down.
Yeah.
That, like, it's hard to really formulate why that's important, but it's important to the world.
I dig it, man. We have got to have you back on. You've been one of the better guests I've had in a while. I really do appreciate it.
And appreciate you having me, man.
I love what you got going on. And for the record, I mean, I'll say it on here. Like, I know you said you wanted to do 12 podcasts. Like, you don't have to do them all with me, man. We can get you in here, bring your guests in. I got you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think I may have left podcasting. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't say I'm done with podcasting. It's just that it's just like the green jacket analogy. I got the green jacket.
Yep.
With podcasting, did I get millions of views? No. Do I have an amazing studio, whether it's this one or the other one? Mm-hmm. Yes. Do I have the process? Yes. Do I have an editor? Yes. And if I go meet Denzel Washington and somehow he wants to do a podcast with me, at least I have a process.
Right.
And that's the thing what's important, is there'll be a time when I meet somebody who is truly life-changing for either me or for the show, I guess. And when that time comes, I'll have the process. And that's what's important.
Right on. Anything else you want to cover, man?
No. I mean, no. We kind of hit it all. I mean,
anything to get out to the fans, the connect
fans?
Yeah, man.
The Master Connect? No. Other than anybody who watches any of these episodes, just really appreciate it, because there's a million people doing this, and even if it gets 1,000 views, right, which isn't a lot to some people, I look at that as there's 1,000 people in this room right now.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, there's a lot of content to consume, and if anybody watched this for even half of it, or even whatever segments we make.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.